What if I told you the most expensive meal in all of history wasn't some fancy gold-flaked steak or a super rare truffle, but 2 large pizzas from Papa John's? Yep, this is the story of how a simple dinner order ended up making financial history.
Just take a look at this number, $690 million. Let that just sit there for a second.
That, believe it or not, was the eventual price tag for those 2 large pizzas. I know exactly what you're thinking. How on earth is that even possible? Okay, let's get into it. To really get this, we have to go back in time, all the way back to May 2010. The world was a really different place for tech and finance back then. I mean, Instagram had just launched, and pretty much nobody had ever heard the word cryptocurrency. Back then, Bitcoin wasn't an investment. It was this weird, obscure digital experiment that a really small group of tech nerds were playing with. It had absolutely no real-world financial value. Seriously, think of it less like digital money and more like a strange piece of code being passed around on a niche internet forum.
And one of those early enthusiasts is our main character, a guy named Laszlo Hanyecz. He was a programmer down in Florida. He wasn't some financial wizard, not at all. He was just a curious pioneer, one of the very first people messing around with this new digital thing.
And that curiosity, that pioneering spirit, led him to try something that no one had ever done before. He wanted to see if he could use this digital experiment to buy something real. You know, something you could actually touch. So on May 18th, 2010, he posts this super casual message on a forum. He says, "I'll pay 10,000 Bitcoins for a couple of pizzas, like maybe 2 large ones so I have some left over for the next day." I mean, it's so normal, right? He wasn't trying to make history. He just wanted to prove a point and, get dinner. But at first, crickets. For 3 entire days, his offer just sat there. Nobody took him up on it. I guess people on the forum just thought it was kind of weird. Like, why would anyone trade this internet money for a pizza you could just buy with a few bucks? But then, on May 22nd, it happened. A 19-year-old student over in Britain, Jeremy Sturdivant, sees the post and says, "Sure, I'll do it." So Jeremy calls the Papa John's in Florida, orders the 2 pizzas, and pays the $41 bill with his own credit card. A little while later, the pizzas show up at Laszlo's door. Once Laszlo confirms he got them, he sends all 10,000 Bitcoin to Jeremy. And just like that, history was made, the concept was proven, the first ever real-world transaction using Bitcoin was officially in the books.
But what happened next? Well, that's where this story turns from a quirky little tech experiment into an absolutely legendary financial tale.
So let's just lock in this baseline value. On that day, May 22nd, 2010, those 10,000 Bitcoin were worth about $41, a totally reasonable price for 2 large pizzas. But then, things started to change fast. As more people got interested in Bitcoin, the value it took off like a rocket. Just 1 year later, in 2011, those same 10,000 Bitcoins were worth $10,000. Fast forward to the big crypto boom in 2017, and suddenly they were worth $200 million. And at Bitcoin's all-time high in 2021, those 2 Papa John's pizzas were worth a staggering, mind-blowing $690 million. So this wasn't just a dinner purchase anymore. It had become one of the most famous stories of the entire digital age. A real monument to how fast things can change. Which, of course, brings us to the question we're all thinking. Does he regret it? I mean, does Laszlo Hanyecz lie awake at night, haunted by the ghost of his nearly $700 million pizzas? Well, not really. Here's what he said about it. Bitcoin had no potential like it does today back then. I just wanted to pioneer a technology. See, for him, it was never about missing out on a future fortune. It was about proving that this new idea could actually work. And in that sense, he totally succeeded. In fact, that moment was so important, so pivotal, that the entire crypto community now celebrates May 22nd every single year as Bitcoin Pizza Day. It's a tribute to that very first moment a digital idea actually crossed over and became a real physical thing. So why does this quirky story still matter so much today? Well, it's way more than just a funny anecdote. It's a perfect example of how the biggest, most revolutionary technologies often start as just a simple experiment. It's an incredible lesson in how value works,
It's not always fixed, it's about what we all collectively believe. And most importantly, it marks the exact moment a bunch of code proved it could be something much, much more, a real-world asset. All of this kind of leaves you wondering, right? What are the things people are tinkering with right now? Things that we see as just a niche hobby that might one day completely reshape our world. What do you think will be the Bitcoin pizza of tomorrow?